Today, on What It's Like, back at Max Motive to take a closer look at this 1961 Chevy Bel Air in this totally awesome color. But before getting into all of it, picture this. You just obtained a car you know nothing about, or perhaps you owned these cars back in the past and you're just here to reminisce. Either way, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like. This channel, we feature the classics, vintage, some exotics, lots of orphan cars, and cars that are off the beaten path. If that sounds like a channel that you'll totally dig, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. 1961 Chevy model lineup. These aren't in any particular order. Corvair, which had a whole line of cars, two-door, four-door wagons, ramp-side truck, Corvette, El Camino, trucks, Suburban, wagons, and then Chevy offered three full-size car lines: Biscayne at the bottom, Bel Air in the center, Impala at the top. Chevy offered the Bel Air trim from 1950 to 1975. In the early years, 1950 to 52, it was a different top option. By 1953, the Bel Air became its own premium model. Chevy would go on to use Bel Air name in all different market positions. For example, up until 1959, so 58 was the last year for Bel Air to be at the top of the heap, which it was replaced with Impala in 1959 and became mid-trim level. By 1970, it was at the bottom of the barrel. Chevy offered the Bel Air in 7 generations. 1961 falls in the 5th generation, which had a production run from 1961 to 1964. 61, 62, 63, 64. Built on the GM B-body platform, along such cars as the Pontiac Bonneville, Oldsmobile Starfire, Buick Invicta. Chevy Bel Air competed with the Ford Fairlane, Plymouth Belvedere. 1961 Chevy Bel Air could be had as a four-door hardtop, four-door sedan, two-door sedan, convertible, and two-door hardtop. For those that don't know, GM started offering different roof options. They started with Cadillac in the late 50s. By the early 60s, it became a Chevy thing. Different roofs gave the cars a whole different look. So not only did they offer those 4 car options, but they offered no less than 4 different roof options as well: bubble top, flat top, convertible, sedan. They are all different. So Chevy offered a bunch of different roof options, thus making a bunch of different car options. Even though the car shell itself is the same, the roof is different, and it gives it a whole different look as well as appearance. Moving on to specs: 209.3 inches long, 78.4 inches wide, 55.5 inches tall. It rides a wheelbase of 119 inches. It weighs 3,503 pounds. Price, $2,525, which is equivalent to you spending $25,166.57 in the year 2022. Total 1961 Chevy production number was 1,318,014 units, of which 177,969 were the two-door hardtop variety. Moving on to engines. This is an important side note. Mileage may vary with some of these because spec source doesn't say what rear end is in each of these cars, which has a lot to do with MPG, top speed, acceleration, everything. Anyway, moving on to the engines. It's also important to note that Chevy offered no less than 24 power teams. So we're not going to get into every single combination. I will link the source with all of the 0 to 60 times if you'd like to go back and check out the ones that aren't mentioned. Believe it or not, lurking in the basement, 235 cubic inches displacement, inline 6, 3.9 liters. Now, I got to stop right there for a second. All of these engines will be mated to a 3-speed manual for 0 to 60 times and what have you. So if you wanted to go back and check out how much faster the top engine is to the 6-cylinder, you can. 135 horsepower, 217 pound-feet of torque. When mated to a 3-speed manual transmission, the theoretical top speed is 93 miles per hour, 0 to 60, 14.6 seconds, 18 miles to the gallon. Moving to the next engine, there was 2 flavors of the 283 cubic inch displacement V8, 4.6 liters. The smaller of the 2 versions was the 170 horsepower version, 275 foot-pounds of torque, 8.5 to 1 compression, Theoretical 100 miles per hour, 0 to 60 in 11.3 seconds, 14 miles to the gallon. Moving up, you could get the 283 with 230 horsepower, 300 foot-pounds of torque, 9.5 to 1 compression. 111 miles per hour is the theoretical top speed, 0 to 60 in 9 seconds, 13.4 miles to the gallon. Moving on to the next engine, there are a bunch of different flavors of this thing. 348 cubic inch displacement V8, 5.7 liters. In its weakest form, it makes 250 horsepower, 355 foot-pounds of torque. When mated to the 3-speed manual, 0 to 60 could be had in 7.9 seconds. 113 miles per hour is the theoretical top speed, 11.7 miles to the gallon. Now, we're not going to go through every single one of these like that, but we're going to take the weakest form and the most potent form of this engine, but I'm going to fill in all of the other flavors of this engine because there's a lot of them. Next up, 280 horsepower, 355 pound-feet of torque. Then another version would have 305 horsepower, 355 pound-feet of torque. Another version had 340 horsepower, 362 foot-pounds of torque. And at the top of the hill was 350 horsepower, 364 foot-pounds of torque. When mated to the 3-speed manual transmission, 0 to 60 could be had 6.4 seconds. Theoretical top speed, 129 miles per hour. Average fuel consumption rating of 9.8 miles to the gallon. Moving to the biggest and baddest engine on offer for the Bel Air series, the 409 cubic inch displacement V8, 6.7 liters. It's good for 360 horsepower. When mated to the 3-speed manual transmission, 0 to 60 could be had in 6.1 seconds. Theoretical top speed, 130 miles per hour. Average fuel consumption rating of 9.7 miles to the gallon. Moving on to transmissions, which there was 5 on offer. 3-speed manual, overdrive, 4-speed manual, power glide, turbo glide. If you dig this channel and totally dig this episode, please hit that like button so more people can see this video in the future. So let's talk styling of this 1961 Bel Air coupe. There's lots of lines going on in this. Just notice all of the lines in the hood. Notice how it comes to a point here in the center. Just check out all of those lines. This line here, it's shared with a bunch of different cars. Like you see, I saw it on the 59 Edsel. Lots of different cars have this particular piece in the front. Notice how the top overhangs this front piece. Also notice the turn signal indicators are down inside here. There's also spaces in here to let more air in. That's really cool. Just look at how nice and clean this design is. I absolutely love these markers. There's a lot going on here. This is an absolute gorgeous color for this car, because you can see all of the different lines. Just notice this. It's almost just even like just a wee bit of a dimple here, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger until it goes out the back. Like, just look at that. It's the biggest right in here. And like you can see where it really, there's a nice little spot right here where it bends out even more. Protrudes even further here, and then it tapers back into the body as it comes back to the back here. I absolutely love this line here, how it comes off of this bright work and just kicks up. But just look at all of the lines that are going on with the trunk section as well. Absolutely gorgeous, this car. Coming up and getting inside this car, just check out this door panel and all the different materials used. This feels like a vinyl material. Armrest, as well as door handles will pull the door shut. This is the door handle to get out. Here is a window crank for the vent window, and it operates like that. This is the window crank for the big window. And just notice it's all chrome trimmed out. coming down inside the pedal box down here. Brake release, this is the brake pedal. Right behind the brake pedal is the high beam switch. Clutch, brake, gas pedal. Just take a look at this interior. It's absolutely amazing. Very spacious in here too. Getting inside. So that's what the door sounds like when it closes. Here's what over the hood impression looks like. Here's what first person looks like. This steering wheel is in your crotch. I wear size 34 pants, so if you're bigger than me, it's definitely going to be in your crotch or hovering right above it. Like if I move around a little bit, it's no longer in my crotch, but I can barely put my fingers underneath the steering wheel without hitting the steering wheel. On to the button switches and knobs, starting left and moving right. Big aftermarket tack, which is right in your line of vision. Headlights, left air vent, wipers. Just above the wipers is the water temperature, speedometer, odometer. There is a center gauge that is empty. That is where the clock would go if you elected that option. The person that originally bought this car decided not to get it, and that is what happens when you decide not to get it. It shows everybody how cheap you were for not getting the clock. Fuel. Just below that are the climate controls. Heat, fan, speed, air, defrost, ignition, lighter, ashtray, AM radio. Up above, sun visors. These are gigantic sun visors. There's my hand for reference. Nice rear view mirror here. Notice how it's mounted. It has this nice piece that comes up and it mounts back in there. Another sun visor over here. This is what I look like in the 1961 Chevy Bel Air. I got tons of headroom. I could wear a top hat if I wanted to. And that's what these cars were. They just this is the bubble top roof, so it sits up higher. Notice these A-pillars and how they are swooped back. And just check out visibility. Like, because the A-pillars are small and they swoop back, almost like there's not even a pillar there at all. And then just looking around, looking out the back, it's so nice in here. Ashtray there. This one has ducks down here. I'm not sure if that's original or if that's aftermarket. In the comment section below, is that original? It looks like aftermarket because it doesn't look like it fits with this car. It looks like it came out of like a mid-80s Chevy product, but I could be wrong. So in the comment section below, please and thank you. On to the glove box test. Here is our test subject. Here's my hand for reference. This is a massive camera with a big lens. This is what we use for all of our cinematic shots. Here is what our glove box looks like. So notice it goes down deep inside there. But the opening isn't big enough to put the camera in, and I do not want to put it in there and then it gets stuck in there, because I've had instances of that. So it does not fit in the glove box. But notice it has these cup indentations to put cups if you go to the drive-in. Getting in the rear seat, this does not have a seat lock on it, so you just push the seat forward. Notice how the seat pivots out of the way. That's how much space you have to get back there. All right, sitting in the back seat. Tons of headroom back here, not an issue. Doesn't feel claustrophobic whatsoever. This is what my knees look like. And if I sat up higher, I have knee space. I did adjust my seating position and I still have tons of headroom. But there's a chrome, there's like a metal beam right here, so if you hit a bump too hard, yeah, it's not going to be affected. Here's what the seat profile looks like. As you can tell, it is a very upright seat back here. The rear of the seat cushion dips down a lot further back here than it does up here, so consequently it makes your knees go a lot higher. Like there's my knees in reference to the back of the seat. No coat hooks on that side. There is an ashtray as well as a window crank because these windows do go down. Over here on this side, same thing. There's no coat hook, but there's an armrest. And this is what your arm would look like resting on it. Nice armrest, good place to be. Ashtray here. Here is what the back to front view looks like. There is a nice dome light here in the center. Here's what out the rear view looks like. There is a big shelf here. I heard stories where kids like to sit up there and get baked by the sun. In the comment section below, is that something that you like to do when you were a kid? And that is what the rear view looks like going out the back. Notice the antenna. There's only one antenna, but some cars you could get dual antennas. I think this was one of them, but this one's only got one, and it's retractable because it's down. All right, getting out. So you just push the seat forward, and it pivots out of the way. Coming to the under the hood section, the hood release is right here. It's just this little black, lever that sticks up. Just pull it down like that. But this is kind of like a two-hand job. You got to pull this and then pick up on the hood because there isn't a second catch. The hood is heavy. It's got an original looking battery. Aftermarket air conditioning unit. So looking at this air conditioning unit, I'm going to say that that's air conditioning system is more modern. It's got a generator. This could be a generator or it could be an alternator. They make new alternators in the form of old generators, so everything still looks period correct, but it's an alternator instead of a generator. I don't know if it's the case with this, just simply saying that it could be either or. It's got power brakes, but it's a single master cylinder. Check out how the steering column comes down into the steering gearbox and or rack. Coolant overflow. On to the pros and cons. We are getting all of these pros and cons from the complete book of collectible cars, Blue Chip Auto Investment, 70 years, 1930 to 2000 by Richard M. Langworth and the Auto Editors of Consumer Guide. On the positives, to be fair, the Bel Air isn't in this book, but the Impala is, and they basically are the same car. The Impala is just appointed a little bit better. But anyway, on the positives, still relatively inexpensive, perhaps the next hot collector's item after the 1955 through 57 Chevys. Crisp styling, high performance, reproduction parts still available. Against it, all the faults with which big cars have been cursed with for so long. Fuel thirst, indifferent construction quality. All right, now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to give me the correct name of the band as well as song title. First person to do both correctly will have their comment pinned to the top of the comment section. That's another one of my favorite songs. It's going to be stuck in your head all day. Anyway, thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. I really appreciate all the support. If you would like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below. I read and answer all comments posted. The other way is check out our Facebook group. It correlates with this YouTube channel. There's no obligation to join, but if you're interested, the link will be in the description. So if I catch you here or there, just know that I appreciate everything. And until next time, toodaloo!